what's percolating out there is margin calls, and I would add to that the stresses of private equity or private credit. What can you report?
Well, let's do two things. On the margin call side, of course, these were the worst margin calls since the COVID pandemic. However, wire time's a little different now. You already had so much pain coming into this year that you had a lot of people hedging. You had a lot of rotation.
It's already cleared out.
A little bit of it.
Okay.
I mean, not to say there won't be more, but when I talk to the banks, even at the highest levels, yes, there's a little bit of panic in the sense that they are really screaming, hoping for the president to roll back, right? I mean, hope is not a strategy, as we know. But, hedge funds at this point, I would also say, remember, there is an element of excitement too, Tom. Last night, I had tons of funds saying, the cash has been working as a good hedge, which means they also have cash to deploy when things get really bad. So I think there is equally an element of waiting for that really bad to start to step in.
Will you let us know when that happens?
Yeah. 100%. I will be crying to come on surveillance radio, of course.
Sonali, I've seen just on social media, a lot of the big names on Wall Street, Bill Ackman, for example, has been very active. And Capitulated. I mean, he's been such a supporter of the president and the president's economic policies. But I think even he has said, all right, we need some clarity here.
Yeah, to Tom's point on the private markets too, equally people who have been deep into public markets are actually more worried about private markets because you can't see how much pain is under the surface. There have been years.
But Sonali Bassett can.
A little bit. Why can you? Because on one hand, you have a sense of sky high, more than a decade worth of bankruptcies last year. If you can think about how much pain you saw coming into this year, then multiply that by a lot.
Okay, but Paul's been on top of this. Private credit. What is the worry about private credit? Describe. Is it they're locked in? What's the angst?
Have you heard of this term amend and extend?
Yes, of course.
Right.
On the lending side, yeah.
So,
Rich, did I hear that from a divorce lawyer once? Okay, thank you. Continue.
Amend and extend, amend and pretend, if you want to call it that. People have put on so much debt on their balance sheet to get through the last couple of years because the IPO market has been closed. The M&A market hasn't been open to a lot of these highly levered companies. The moment was supposed to be now, Tom.
I'm shocked.
They were supposed to sell now.
You're right. You
they
said
can't
it.
sell.
You're right.
They can't sell.
They're locked in.
Correct.
Paul, what's it mean?
I'm going to ask Sonali, what are I see the big Wall Street firms cutting their price targets. I mean, the Wall Street's jumping
And that's just in public markets.
Yes.
So if you look at private markets, you're looking at values that are declining steeply. You're looking at leverage that is a turn, two, three
there's
more.
leverage there?
There is leverage there.
Okay.
And as you know, leverage is the enemy.
I got 1 minute left here. Just as simple as I can. Mr. Dimon's out with a letter, and his defense was written before all this idiocy. Are we going to right size? I mean, I'm making jokes about, and folks, I hate the phrase layoffs in finance. Are we going to see firings to right size to a new reality?
It's certainly becoming a discussion because all the deals that were expected to happen, it's already April. You can count out the month already, how much is actually going to happen this year.
Right.
You're not going to see the activity come back in full form.
Right.
And honestly, bank earnings start Friday, so
Howard,
you'll hear the weather report.
Thank you. Thank you. I lost my mind on that. How are the international banks doing in Manhattan now? The Deutsche Banks, the BNP Paribas.
HSBC is one of the most interesting to watch. They are on the tail end of a massive, maybe historic for the bank restructuring. They got rid of a lot of businesses, and now they're focusing on things like trade financing, which is, for this market, a pretty interesting place to be.
Okay. What do you want? I got 10. What are you watching today? What's the number one thing?
Credit
you're
spreads.
Well, like high yield, full faith in credit?
High yield, investment grade, credit default swaps. Remember, credit is that canary in the coal mine. And the smart money watchers, the credit go first.